says we're ready. So as we always do, we're going to do it live. So are we really ready, Cote?
For sure.
Do we have
Yeah.
any, this is our second pre-show?
You know what I like to do is I want to write in my Twitter feeds that we are broadcasting
Yes.
so that
That's
we can
always
get some
live
attention
tape.
there.
We do have some good follow-up from everyone from last week. So, hey, I'll really tease this. Later on in this episode, Matt's going to explain why there really is Diet Coke in Australia. So, if that's not the only reason to stay for the whole show, to learn.
Wow.
I mean, I don't know if there's anything else I can
pressure.
offer.
No pressure.
I mean, Matt needs to carry it. So that will come later in the show. You have to stay almost to the very end to hear about that.
This is me like, well, I guess I got to save it for later in the show.
Yeah. Listen, Matt, we've got hundreds of people watching now, so we need you to stay in there.
Hundreds. Well, maybe.
So
Eventually.
here is while we're doodling around here, here's a question I have for you two. So you both have worked in the tech industry for a while. You currently work in it. If you were, and this is only a hypothetical, it's not very serious. If you were going to choose one channel to do all of your sort of like, I don't know, publicity publishing to, would you choose Twitch, Twitter, YouTube, or LinkedIn? And this is on the basis of what is going to be the most commercially, that is to say, making you money successful. What would you choose out of those
LinkedIn.
four?
I would choose Twitter, but in doing so, I would then commit to producing most of my content being written things, blog posts, reports. It needs to be written stuff, not video. Right. So the
Interesting.
method, what is it? The medium matters there, because there, I think if you're like, I'm just going to write great stuff, Twitter, you get to promote it and then you constantly interacting. You can probably build yourself, the 50,000, 100,000 follower list, but you gotta commit to the writing part of it. Now, if you're like, I'm not going to write, if you're like, I'm not writing, I don't want to do it, I'd probably do kind of what we do here, like Twitch, but then I'd have everything like archived in YouTube, right? So like YouTube being the whole thing, but then it's like, of course, then you're committing to like, I'm going to make good videos. But I would actually invert the question and just say like, what do you think you're better at? Or I don't know, not even better. It's like, what are you gonna produce in volume that you got there, writing or video?
Right.
And I'm thinking like, how are you trying to reach customers? and so that's why I said LinkedIn, because it's like, well,
Yeah.
like quote unquote businessy people are, you'll probably get. I agree. More people will probably see your message if you have good content distributed through Twitter.
Yeah.
But
yeah.
if you are generating focused content that is like, want to learn more about, working with, IBM legacy products, that nobody on Twitter is going to care. But, LinkedIn is the kind of place where like, you build that steady drumbeat. You can post it to multiple channels. You can, I feel like if you're going after customers and you have good content, it's still about the content, really.
Right. But I think I would agree with that. And almost like, so maybe it's almost like sister platforms. It's like, if I had to pick one and I felt like I was going to do a lot of writing, I would pick Twitter. But then I would say, if you've done that, if you're creating that content is going to be very easily be repurposed into LinkedIn, because it's going to be written stuff and stuff like that. Right. So those two kind of go, I think they go very hand in hand. Just like I wouldn't limit myself. If I was doing video, I wouldn't just do YouTube. I would stream, because it's kind of like, hey, if you're streaming, you already got it. You can build up some interaction, and then you could maybe do a little bit of light editing and then put them in YouTube. And it's like, it's like those two together, those platforms go together. I think the harder part is like, I don't know, you just got to commit to like one or the other. I mean, I guess, you do a lot of both, Cote. So maybe you can share your experience, but it's like, I just feel like it's probably better to be all in on one. Like Matt Iglesias, like, let's just use him, right? It's like, he's a writer. That guy wants to write. He wants to, or Matt Levine too. That guy, he loves to write. And when I hear him on a podcast, I don't like him as much as I like him in his writing. So it's like, you're probably only going to be great at like one of the things, right?
Yeah.
Or you just got to be strong at both.
I think y'all's analysis, especially yours, Brandon, like kind of nails it in the sense that each of those things I mentioned, and you added the LinkedIn analysis you did, Matt, was spot on. Is that each of those four things are different mediums, and LinkedIn is its own sort of thing in that it's a very, very specific audience, right? And so, like, if that audience that you're going after is pure, I almost feel like the LinkedIn audience is pure B2B, right? There is no, like, it's only if you are a company selling to other companies that LinkedIn is your channel, right? Everything else is just, I mean, it's your channel in so much as like content you're going to create. Like if you're looking for a job, obviously LinkedIn is like the place that you go, or to be your resume. And then Brandon, you're right. Like if you are writing, if your thing, your medium is typing, Twitter is where you want to be. And then like, I don't know what the fuck with Twitch. Like that's whatever, right? And like
and if no one, you go to Mastodon.
Yeah, I mean, Twitch is just like 60 frames per second and like licking mics. That's what they do there. Like that's it. Games and licking microphones. Over.
Well, yeah, I mean, and to that point, like if I had something more businessy, I'd probably go to YouTube before I go to Twitch.
Absolutely.
Starting to come around to.
And then so YouTube, it's almost like, I mean, the answer to the best answer to all questions is to basically say the question was bullshit, which is what we have just done here. And so like YouTube is, and it sounds ridiculous to say it, right? But YouTube is only good for videos, right? Which I think is a thing to consider with your social media strategy. Like, do you want to make videos? Right? Like it's got to be visual. You're going to make videos. That's the only thing YouTube is for. So like if that is if that's the way you want to transact, that's what you're going to do. So that's good. That's very helpful. I like that. We're almost 1 month into if you're doing the whole thing where you don't want to have to sell to people on December 31st. So your FY23 actually starts in February 1st. We're almost 1 month into your financial year versus your calendar year. So, even if you've had the big meeting, you've set things out, now you've got some ideas of like what you can do. You can set your strategy perfectly fine. Everything will be great.
Love it. All right, we ready to roll?
I don't know. That sounded like a pretty good ad break to me.
Well, just mix that back in somewhere into the feed.
All right, you want to use that? Is that the ad break?
Yeah, why not?
Can I take it right from? Did you say anything that you didn't want? Like now that we started?
No,
All
it's
right,
fine.
Good.
Yeah.
All right.
I mean, if I know that I'm broadcasting, I edit myself, so everything's cool.
Okay.
Yeah, but where's our cold open now?
That was the cold open, right?
Yeah, I don't know. Usually we're talking about.
All right.
Okay, now that's what I said. God, man, we've lost control now. Are we doing? All right. Do a cold.
All right,
open.
I'll start over.
I'm saying reuse that, like do a cold open and bring that piece back.
No.
That's too much editing.
I'll do it over again. I'll do it over
You
again.
know what?
That's
That's a great after show. That's the after
Yes,
show. After
yes.
show done.
Oh,
All right.
okay.
Hold on. Let me just write down the time thing. 6. What is it?
Brandon said he didn't like someone. Is this
All
true,
right,
Brandon?
Now I gotta think of a cold open. Hold on.
Not to go listen to. I'll edit it if I said something bad. I don't think I said anything.
No. It was all cool.
All right, now we're ready, Cote. Ready for your cold open. Bring it.
All right. So here's what I need some advice on, as always, at the beginning of these shows. So the advice that I need is, I've been thinking, one of the things I want to improve on in this year, this calendar year, I don't want to confuse it with fiscal years for anyone who's got that in their head, is I feel like a lot of the times I'm out in my life, I'm wandering around, and someone challenges me or tells me like, does some like negative bullshit towards me, right? And like my lizard brain kicks in. Now, I wouldn't even say my lizard brain. I would say my I'm going to fucking destroy you brain like kicks in, right? And the only weapon that I have is like rhetoric, right? Like I'm not very strong. I I don't have any sort of like reputation I can bring on someone or some sort of power. And so all I have is cleverness, right? Like kind of in Loki style, except that I don't have any magic, right? And so I'll just like quickly come up with some sort of like witty phrase that in retrospect is kind of like stupid and not useful, right? But what I need to do is like, I realize that I need to like slow down and almost like be quiet and think of something even better to say, right? And so I want to build up this power that when someone like challenges me or like I'm in a difficult situation, I can just like not instantly strike like a dumb cobra, right, with words, right? So for example, right, I was here in pardon my Dutch, Douwendrecht. I was taking out the trash. Now in Douwendrecht, they had the brilliant idea. I don't want to get into it because, you know, I love living here and I'm an American. I'm a foreigner, as they say, or whatever they say in Dutch. But I was taking out the trash, and you have to actually use the scan card to like open up the trash bin to throw away your trash. And they charge you 50 cents, that's euro cents, however you would say that, to throw away each load of trash. I think I've covered this before. And I had lost my card at some point in this past week, but I needed to take the trash out because it smelled and it was full. So I took the trash out there knowing that I wouldn't be able to open the trash can, and I just set it down next to the trash bin, which if you have followed the past, how long has it been that I've lived here? 4 years, I think. The past 4 years of a series I like to call Garbage Chairs of Amsterdam. In the city that surrounds this city, no one has any compunctions at fucking all about leaving their trash next to a trash can. It is like magical. They'll just be like, oh, this is an area where trash is put. I will put trash here too, whether it goes in the receptacle or not. Down here, not so much the case. So I put the trash bag next to the trash can because I couldn't find my card. And someone was walking by and they did that whole signal of like, you're an asshole. Like, you know, what are you doing? And I was like, I lost my card. And they were like, oh, and it was actually very Dutch. They spoke to me in English, which was nice. They were like, oh, you know. And I was like, no, I don't know where it is. You want to come help me find it? And I was thinking, and then they walked off. And I was thinking, like, that was not the best response, right? Like, I mean, it was sort of clever that I could be like, you know, why don't you come with me and help me solve the problem? But I felt like if I could have, like, slowed down, right, and just taken a beat or five, and like, I could have kind of constructed a better, more helpful conversation. And maybe I could have been like, oh, yeah, you know, I take the trash out a lot. And, you know, sometimes I put the card here and sometimes I put it there. And like, I don't really know where it is. What do you do when you lose the card? Right? Like, I feel like the best sort of like fuck you response is to really like be level and engage and kind of try to have like that tone with someone and just totally like whatever. Now, on the other hand, my other response could have just been like nothing. And so like, that's what I need some help with is like in a moment like that, how do you two sort of like level set yourself out so that everything is fine?
Well, I'm not sure I have the answer. I just need to relate Australia's approach, which is you might not know this, but Australia is a nanny state, and so there are signs for illegal trash, illegal dumping, and that say report a tosser. And that cracks me up every time I see it. And they've got a phone number, and they encourage you to text photos of people doing illegal dumping.
Now, I don't want to cause Brandon to do a bunch of editing like he did last week, but doesn't tosser imply some sort of like sexual act?
Yeah.
Huh.
So you would get reported as a tosser. Perhaps.
Now, okay. In my defense, not like 8 minutes later when I came back, Kim had found the card, and it was in one of our laundry bins that I hadn't looked in. Like, I had looked through all of the dirty laundry, all of the hoodies, my jackets, all these places, and there was one laundry location that I didn't look in, and she looked there, and of course found it, right?
It's always the last place you look.
Which totally, like, I mean, you know, dad wisdom number one is like, if you can't find something, it's somewhere you haven't looked yet, right? Like, that's number one on the list. And I didn't follow that, so she sort of like proved it. I don't know, but it, like, so I ended up like I got the thing and I put the trash back in there, right? Of course.
Well, and that's what's beautiful about Australia is like the government is always like report those tossers, and everyone else is like fucking government, man. They're always out to get you. And so like, you know, if you've got a bunch of trash and your trash can's full, and you know they want to charge you, you know, to you know throw away trash. When the trash man comes, you know, you're like, hey, can I toss some other stuff? And he gets out of his truck. He's like, yeah, those guys, you know, they're charging you so much, and he's like helping you throw bags of trash in.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Because that was my thinking is like, who in this town of 5,000 people hasn't been in this situation?
Yes.
Right? Like, we've all been here, right? Like, you can't find your card, like, you got a lot going on, and just
I think
like
you hit the answer. I think I think you actually have both answers are correct. I think either like when someone sort of like goes at you with a problem, you're reflected back on the problem. You know, the metaphor I've always heard is like, hey, walk up to the person, put their arm around them, and like look at the problem collectively. Like, and you kind of did that. You're trying to do that with the person. Be like, you're like, yeah, you know, it sucks. I'm leaving it here. I lost my card. Do you, you know, and then you would ask them like, you have any suggestions? What do you do when you lose your card? Right. Because then you're just inviting that person in and it diffuses this situation. Or what you said before was, hey, it's just not worth the time. Like, you know what's going on. Right. It's not worth the time. So just walk by. Right. There's no reason to stop.
I like that. I like that. I think to summarize your advice, always ask, what would you do? Right. Like, you know, tell me how you would handle this situation. And then like that, at least at the very moment, I think maybe I have to train myself to have that be the default reaction to any challenge to what I'm doing. And that will give me 20 to maybe even 90 seconds to sort of like calm down and collect myself and think about the next move, right? Because it's almost like what you want to do if someone is like throwing something at you, you want to throw it back to them to have them like deal with it, the hot potato as it were. And then just so that you have some time to be like, all right, I'm ready, right? To kind of like,
all right, Cote, if I could just, you know, we can wrap here on this one thought as just like, I think you should apply it all the time, except when you're in conversations with your executives. Never ask your executive team what you think they should do, because that will invite what do we have you here for? In the conversation is a very abrupt end. All right, good. That'll be a good edit.
Wow, 2 weeks in a row that you closed it out, Brandon.
That's a good place to pull it out here. Okay.
Yeah, that's good.
And
that's good.
Who we're going to advertise this week? Hey, everyone! After this podcast, go listen to another podcast. Go listen to our friends at Postlight, and they're good. That's what is F Train, right?
Yeah, that's right. That's right.
I like those guys, so go check them out.
Yeah, my other response is I always want to be like, you know, I got a lot going on. Just lay off, man.
Yeah, but I think that's the walk by, like don't engage, right? That's the like here in the U.S. There's this big fight in like the shaking hands line at the end of a basketball game, right? And it's like, anyway, long story short, the two coaches were heated, and it's like one coach was clearly mad, was gonna walk by, the other coach stopped him. And it's like should have just, and then they got in a fight, and it's like nope, should have just like walked by, like just zero. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? Like when you're mad and it's like nothing's gonna happen, just walk, just keep walking. Right. Five more minutes will go by and you'll forget about it, or at least you'll like ratchet down a little bit.
Yeah.
So
you won't get suspended for 5 games, Cote.
Yeah, you won't. That's right. You won't. You can continue to do that.
Does he get paid while he's suspended?
I don't think they said. That's a good question. Yeah, fine. I don't know. We'll look that up. Maybe we'll get that later.
All right.
All right. Pick up whenever you're ready.
All right, let me look at this real quick.
And make sure Matt finishes eating before you start talking.
Yeah. Good
Hold
point.
on.
Here we go. Let me start with this one. Well, no, that's not good. Just a moment. All right. Well, you know I love surveys, as I like to start every blog post that I write about surveys ever. Or I should start that way, I guess. But there is I think OpenLogic, who is owned by Perforce now. If you remember them, version control. I haven't checked in on Perforce in a while, but I think they had a cool version control system. We used, what did we use there at BMC? The Microsoft Source Safe for a while?
We did. I use SourceSafe. That's how long it is. I'm probably the only one that really liked it. Lock the file. No one can change anything. It's great. Yeah. You know, manual merges. Oh, that's.
Yeah, it's like a library. It's just like we got one book, one person checks it out, and fuck you if you want to read it. I think
it's universally hated though. That approach, 100% hated. Like I can't even find anyone else that thinks it's a good idea.
We actually were using Subversion on some of the stuff.
True.
Oh yeah, I think we migrated from
SourceSafe to Subversion.
Yeah,
and then eventually I think Git was after that, right?
Oh, not while we were at BMC though. Yeah.
No. Who knows what they're doing? They're probably using Control MD to like do their version control, or it's Control M and Control D, right? Not MD. I forget what it is.
Yes.
Anyhow, there was another survey, the open source survey. I didn't disentangle the OSI versus OpenLogic versus whatever, but they had a number of Kubernetes usage, right? Something we are very interested in here. And I was reading through it. Now, it's a 77-page PDF. I feel like I've read maybe 10 of the pages so far, because I just started looking at
Would that get you 10 bullet points?
That's right. And ostensibly, I'm on some sort of vacation, so I wasn't really like, or holiday or whatever. So I didn't like spend a lot of time reading it. However, one of the major things they had in their press release and in the report was that they asked people how many people were using. They asked their respondents how many people are using Kubernetes, and it came out that about what was it? Let me. I'm checking. Yes, 18% of respondents are using Kubernetes today. Now, I didn't do a detailed analysis of the question and the demographics. I actually did look at the demographics. It was like 30% tech companies and everything else, which is fine, not a big deal. But now, normally when you read a survey, especially a press release about a survey where people are using Kubernetes, what you'll read is that like 60 to 70% of organizations are using Kubernetes, right? So this was a much different response than you would see. And I feel like maybe it's annoying for me to go over this every time, right? But it's a good opportunity to distinguish between let's say, well, let me put it this way. I feel like if you were to survey the global 1,000 companies, which I guess that means the top 1,000 companies globally by revenue.
Sure.
I think is how you would do that. That's what, because the Fortune 500 are based on valuation. No, they're not even based on, the S&P is invite only, right? To be in the S&P, and I think the Fortune is by revenue, or is it by
total
valuation?
revenue.
Yeah, okay.
Revenue.
So I don't know how they judge global 2,000 or 1,000, but like I feel like if you were to ask all of the global 1 or 2,000, every single one of them would have at least one Kubernetes cluster running that has at least one container running in it, right? So you would have 100% of the global 1 to 2,000 are using Kubernetes, right?
See, but that's where the distinction of containerization and orchestration strategy comes in.
Yes,
yeah, they got some shit running, but who knows how it got there and what it's doing.
Well,
I think
it's actually worth, because I think it's actually worth reading this entire bullet, because it kind of, I think it highlights everything you said. The most desirable new technologies are containers and Kubernetes. Only 18% of the respondents use Kubernetes today. 39% have a cloud strategy, and 29% have a containerization strategy, to Matt's point, right? So it's sort of like, you have some people thinking about containers outside of Kubernetes, which in itself is kind of interesting, right? It's like, well, what are they doing? Are they doing some type of other orchestration? And then I really like this 39% having a cloud strategy, because I think you would say, if you asked the global 2,000, do you have like a group would almost 100% of people would say they have something there. So this came across to me like, these are like the most honest survey people, respondents I've ever met. I'm like, this actually jives with what I actually feel like I see when I talk to people. And I was like, so to your earlier question, I don't know if the questions were formulated better or it was like a safe environment. Like people really felt like they just gave the honest answers. But it really resonated as like, this is the truth. This is
exactly. And so
they're negging they're negging the responses. They're like, do you have a cloud strategy? And like, it's not a strategy. We're just throwing stuff up in the cloud, right? And so like that's why you get these like weirdly low, because to your point, I'm sure they have a bunch of stuff in the cloud, right? But is it strategic? Did they really plan these things out? I don't know.
Right, and so I think they have. I think we have arrived on the proper question to ask about, are you using Kubernetes? And I'm going to couple this with like eventually, I don't know when, I put this into the VMware Tanzu machine, the content machine. It'll come out at some point. But I wrote some analysis of the Cloud Native Computing Foundation 2021 survey, right, of their usage. And they had a question equally of, they asked their respondents, are you using Kubernetes? Not is your organization using it, but are you using it? And the answer that came out of there is that 21% of people said they were using Kubernetes, right? And 21%, 17%, 18%, right? In these kind of surveys is pretty much the same number to me, right? Like anything within
One
that
in five.
10% range, right? Not a big deal, right? So I think that is how we need to start measuring Kubernetes usage is not, well, I mean, the ultimate way to measure it is globally. I think I said this last week, globally, how many applications or workloads are there? How many of them are running on Kubernetes? That's what you really want. But that is, well, it would be possible, but like it's difficult to get at. Whereas I think what people should start asking is the person in your survey, don't ask, is your organization using it? Ask, are you using it? And then we will start to get like a better picture of how many people, I mean, I guess I'm, by definition of the words I'm about to say, how many people are using Kubernetes versus your organization or a strategy that you have. Because I think like, looking at that CNCF question and the Open Logic or whatever survey it is, yeah, we'll get a pretty good idea of what's going on there. And the if that way of thinking about it is accurate, which I don't know, seems accurate to me, like we will get a much better idea of how early things are, which is not bad. Don't get me wrong, right? Like I was writing about this on Twitter when I was looking at it this morning, is like, I mean, I kind of sort of hope for all of us who work at software vendors that the market is not done yet. Because that would be
It'd be bad.
if there were like a huge amount of people who had not yet bought in to this Kubernetes market, right? And indeed, Fintan or whatever, who used to work at Redmonk, now at Gartner, he kind of confirmed that like when they did their market calculation, what did he say? He said that the API management market was larger than the Kubernetes market, which is, I think, a pretty good indication of, yeah, things will be fine for us. We'll still be able to get a paycheck for the next 5 or 10 years hustling this Kubernetes stuff. So, looks all right so far.
All right. That was good. So others.
All we wanted to talk about from the report was Kubernetes. You know, who cares about open source?
Yeah, I mean, there was other good stuff in there, but you know.
Well, we can still do it. We can just run the ad here. We can just see who's our other good friends, Strong DM. All of you need to manage and audit remote access for your infrastructure. Everyone, go see our friends at.
Well, what do we got
DM.
here? How many more minutes do we have?
We got full 30. I think, what time is it? Yeah.
All right. Yeah, I
got
can
the
go
ads
on
there.
with that.
So
you
you
want to
can
talk about
either
that more?
Akamai and
Yeah, so out of the break, you can either pick another point out of the survey, right? You can just start with like, also in the survey was this, and we can talk about that, or you can just go on to another topic.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I have 2 more things we can talk about. Do you want to talk about the survey?
Yeah,
sure.
yeah, keep it going.
All right, sounds good. All right.
All right, whenever you're ready.
So also in the survey, there's another chart that we should, well, let me send this to you so y'all can read it as well, and then I'll start over. Sorry, Brandon. Let me put
That's
this in
fine.
here. Well,
No,
I'll put it in the
Put in the Slack. Let everyone see it.
God damn it! I've got to be logged into the right thing.
All right, throw it in the thing. I'll put it in the Slack.
I will give it to you, and you can put it in there. I need to,
Okay.
whatever. I got to do a lot of things, Brandon.
That's fine. All right, I got it. I see it. This Twitter one. This.
Yeah.
All right, I got it. Here, I'll put it in the Slack for our listeners. Welcome to our new, what is this, first time streamer thing? I was trying to, how do I say the name? Can I say the name? K-A, I can't pronounce that. Go ahead, welcome. Welcome
Call him Elon Musk's child.
with a lot of, yeah, that's too many. I don't know how to say that, so I'm not going to try. All right, I put it in. Now we're all watching Cote. Now let me
All
pull it
right.
up. Okay, all right, now ready this time. Go ahead.
So there's a few more things in the survey I wanted to go over, just because like I'm always trying to be better about how I read these things. Now, one of them was, now this is an open source survey, right? About how people are, the respondents, as they say, are, did I ever tell y'all that when I was at 451, they told us instead of saying the word survey, we should say study? And I've kind of like ingrained that in my head is like their explanation was that like, well, this is not like a scientific survey,
Right.
like that, like scientists would acknowledge. And I was kind of like, yeah, I feel you. That makes sense. So we should start saying study. I like that. That feels good. So in this study, it's about open source usage, and there's another chart where they asked people of these categories of open source projects, which ones are not important or frustratingly mildly important, very important, or most important. Now, what's frustrating about this is there was not a 4-level gradient of not important. It was just like not important, right? But whatever. There's only so much you can do with a Likert scale before like you go insane or whatever. But so when I look at this, now there's data science, artificial intelligence, machine learning, deep learning, which is just like figure out a phrase, right? Like, like it's cool. We could just like go with one phrase, no problem. Virtual reality or augmented reality, Kubernetes or Kubernetes operators, blockchain, crypto, non-fungible tokens, serverless/functions, IoT or edge computing, data fabric, and quantum computing. So those are the categories, right? And people rated the importance of each of those things. And when I look at this chart, and I'm not going to read all the percentages. Now, as I like to say a lot, I have a philosophy major and a minor English. If I would have taken 3 more hours of English, I could have also had a major, but I couldn't fucking stand to hear a bunch of people my own age talk about Faulkner for like a whole nother semester. I was just tired of it. Anyways, like when I look at these numbers, it basically looks like every single thing is as important as everything else except NFTs, right?
No. Everything is very important.
Right.
If you isolate the numbers, very important has almost universally the highest percentage for everything.
Right. Now
NFTs, which are worthless.
And just as an example, I am going to read the numbers of the top 3 most important, the top 3 and the bottom most important thing. So data science, very important, 30.82%. Love the 0.82%. Very nice to have that precision. Always enjoy it. Artificial intelligence, blah, 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 29.37%. Virtual reality or augmented reality, 27.82%. Now, footnote, I feel like if you're in the Global 2000 and virtual reality and augmented reality is very important to you, please tell me so I can short your stock, right? Like not cool,
There's just
right?
some chump in the office of the CTO.
Hey, Coach,
Now-
just jump in here for a real second. For everyone following along, we'll make this the show art so they can see it right now. Look at your podcast player and you can see the numbers as
Now,
Coach continues on.
And to my point, the bottom of the barrel of very important, quantum computing, 23.92%. Now let's round that up to 24%. So the difference between out of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, what is this? Like 8 things. The difference between the most important of 8 priorities and the least important of 8 priorities is 6%. Right? and like if I was someone in charge, now I don't like managing people. I've never been a vice president of shit, right? Like I feel like I would be like, great job, everyone. Come back in a week and tell me something that you are 80% very important on, right? Like this is so close that your priorities are basically like you want to do everything, right?
Yes.
So sort it out.
Especially if you're in like the global 100 or 1,000, it's like you might be trying all these at the same time.
Right. Well, I think your point, like your broader point is just like, this is just a bad question. This is a bad question, the way they've done it and the way that they've responses. Like typically you'd see something along with some kind of forced ranking, right? You know, either do a forced ranking or like do the, hey, if I gave you like $1 million or just pick any amount, like I give you $1,000, $1 million, whatever, like how would you allocate? Where would you spend it? Right. Like,
perhaps this is a choose as many options as you want sort of question here.
Yeah. So, I mean, if someone's if they're just forced to like rate because we've all taken surveys like this, you're like, I really don't care that much about these things, but like I'm forced to rate every single one. You're just like, okay. And you kind of end up with something that looks like this. It's kind of right. Or you could say, or maybe be more generous to it, is just say that there's not a lot of like, they're all equally important. Right. I mean, to what you said before,
problems are the same.
Could be.
Yeah. I mean, at least across the broad industry, these all have equal weight. I mean, that seems unlikely to be the right answer, but you could draw that from this.
I mean, I just like, let's round NFTs, 26.85%. Let's round that up to 27%, right? Or let's round it down to 25%. I am just like shocked that 25% of people who responded to a survey would say that NFTs are very important, right? To their, I mean, I don't know. Maybe they all were like the only people who responded to the survey were like Bored Ape people or whatever.
Well,
but it just
you know,
seems
as soon
bizarre.
as soon as NFTs pass Kubernetes, I think we're gonna have to shut this thing down.
That's a good point. Now Kubernetes did come in. So important, 29.61%. We can
Yeah, they
call
beat
that
out
30%.
NFTs by 3%.
Yeah, yeah. Maybe we should get some new jobs in the blockchain stuff.
Well, one, I think this is a good candidate for slide of the year. And it's early. It's early. You know, there's a long year left, so we'll see. But like I think you could pretty much say this is useless. This information here feels pretty useless. I mean,
Okay. Now let me redeem this survey because this survey is 77 pages. And
yeah,
I
let's
actually,
be fair. This question is
yes.
useless. Other parts of the survey or the study,
Very good, very
to
good
your
stuff.
point, may have much better information. Hey, we all have written a bad question in our life. Let's not overly judge, I guess.
Right. And that one is just like, hey, just as you said, Brandon, let's go back and they can only pick one, right? That's what
Yeah.
you want with this kind of question.
Force
Totally
people to make
cool.
decisions, or they won't.
So maybe to be more charitable, right? Is that question is more of what are things that you, the respondent, think are interesting, right? And I think if you were to read it as a response to that, makes sense, right? Like all of those things are kind of equally interesting, which is fine.
And even for all of my crypto hating, I still am interested, right?
Absolutely.
And so that just skews it even further. It's like, yeah, I read that stuff because I'm like, what the hell, right?
Yeah. Now like Brandon was saying, a lot of good stuff in the survey. Now, one of the questions that I really liked in the survey, and I'm going to spend some more time contemplating, is somewhere in the 77 pages. And I'm not saying that to be a dick about it. I actually appreciate a survey that is very in-depth. I do a lot of work on survey stuff nowadays. And one of them was challenges with open source automation and orchestration technologies, right? And so that's a whole lot of words to say pretty much all of the stuff we care about in cloud nowadays, right? Automation, orchestrating things, your secure software supply chain, whatever, all this stuff. And if you look at the answers for that, they kind of reflect, I think, what a lot of people in the Kubernetes people talk about, aside from like the maybe like scaling things, right? But basically the top answers there by far are things like installations and upgrades, configuration issues, skills, right? Always a top thing, and keeping up with updates and patches, which is a very long way of saying security, right? And so like those seem like the top challenges people have with open source when it comes to automation orchestration. I would say if you removed open source from that phrase, it would also be fine, right? Like is essentially like getting the thing up and running, right? And upgrading it, right? And also the skills of people to handle this, and then security. And you're done, right?
Let me try this. The number one support challenge with software across all industries is personal experience and proficiency.
That's right. And security and getting that motherfucker installed, right? Like that is constantly the problem that you have. And I feel like so like now it sounds like I'm being slightly dismissive, right? But I think those are the three top challenges of anything ever, right? And now number four is, as I used to say, the problem you want to have. And in a lot of the Kubernetes surveys that I've looked at recently, this one comes up more frequently, right? Which is integration and connectivity, which, let me rephrase that, doing something with this shit, right? is like once we get this thing
Moving it out
installed,
of the lab. Yeah.
That's right. Like once we get it installed, like we've got to connect with this database, we got to connect with this thing, we got to like make it work with that. And you've got to like fit it into your existing stuff and integrate it and connectivity it, so to speak, with those things as well. So I feel like if you are a product manager or on the other side of it, an enterprise architect, someone kind of figuring out your strategy, like this plus a few additional things are kind of defining what your next 3 to 5 years is going to be, right? It's going to be all about like how do I get this thing up and running? How do I make sure I can upgrade it and put a new the new version of it on there? I've got to secure it, right? Because like, you know, security's good. Like security's like your skin. Like if you don't have your skin, you're just a pile of mush, right? Like it's no big it's not going to work out. So you got to have like your skin around stuff. And then also the skills of people to do stuff. And I think that when it comes to application developers, the 2 or 3 things you have to add to this, to kind of any product manager anywhere, this is what their deal is going to be, is like, I need to have developer experience. What does developer experience mean? Developer experience means like this tragically named thing that we call developer portals, which is basically like better than a wiki page describing to developers onboarding and the other frameworks that they can use. And then maybe the other thing around that is like, I don't know, like there's a few more things developers need. Like it kind of comes to that fourth thing of integration is like, I don't know, I just need Postgres to work. Like, so that's another thing that you can integrate into there. And maybe like, I'd like it to work in my IDE. And then you've got like 5 or 6 things there. You're set for like 3 or 5 years. I don't know, Brandon, if you were a product manager here, could you run with that? What would you, would this set your priorities?
It would. I mean, I do think what the survey is kind of revealing is, like, you know, what really the 3 problems that all software are trying to run up or solve, right? It's usually some version of reduce costs, improve agility, right? Making people more effective, and then security. So it's like almost any software that I've ever been a part of, like selling, building, even using, you know, that is those questions is what you're trying to figure out, right? And so the fact that this applies to open source or developer experience is no surprise. I think in this case, the survey is just sort of reflecting back, you know, what we kind of already know, but it's still good to validate it again. And then to your point about developer experience, you know, because that's been a hot topic, you know, across, you know, I don't know, for a long time maybe, but, you know, more recently we've been talking about it. It just kind of comes down to the idea that like that there is this one holy grail of a developer experience, like it's all going to be solved and well, it's just going to work. Like this is the Matt Ray kind of comment all the time. It's like, well, no, it just at some point it just breaks down. So you just, if I was kind of like, you know, modeling this out, it's like you have to decide what's the developer experience that you're going to create for this group of people in this environment, and you're going to like have some constraints, and then you're going to hire and build an organization that does its best to live within those constraints until such time that you feel like we got to really relook at it. And unfortunately, every company generally has to kind of do that on their own, right? They have to kind of make that decision on their own. Like decorating a family room or decorating a home. At some point, you have to make the decision what you want. No one can just come in and do it. Even though many people will try to say like, this is the only way. But I think we've just find that part just doesn't work well. I don't know, Matt, this seems to be something you talk a lot about.
Well, now hold on, Brandon. I think there's an epiphany that you've had there that's worth dwelling on, which is there is no one developer experience, right? Like there's all these things that you can do to like make developers more productive and make them happier, but it's not like, what would be an equivalent? It's not like, there's not like one thing we're finally going to discover that is developer experience, right? It's not like, I don't know, let's try this out. Like I think maybe in version control, there is always one type of version control that dominates, right? Like at the moment, everyone uses Git. Before that, everyone used Subversion. Before that, most everyone used CVS except for Perforce, right? Like, and it's sort of like
Mercurial,
right. It's sort of like more or less when it comes to version control, there's only ever one version.
Yeah, we've coalesced around one good idea.
Whereas, like when it comes to this idea of developer experience, there is never one developer.
Oh no,
experience.
absolutely, yeah,
right,
yeah,
right. And I think what you're hitting on, like, so just back up one level, be like, yep, we've coalesced around that version control, but then. In an interview that's upcoming, like I ended up talking to the person about, we had like a fun conversation about Vim versus Emacs versus other IDs. It's like, you know, there isn't just one, right? And you're and like, so back to what I was saying before, like I've been in organizations where pretty much everyone was told they should use this IDE, right? And now some people would do something outside the standard, right? But it was always like, no, this is the way it was worked. Now other places, like absolutely, that what I just said there is heresy, right? Do not tell a professional software developer which IDE or text editor or whatever that they're going to use, right? Provide them command line tools and let them integrate it into the environment they want. And that's just a choice, right? It's just a choice that you can make. And there's advantages and disadvantages to both. So to kind of back to like, if you're use a better word, if you're going to build out the developer experience, this is what you need to be thinking about. Like, what are the things that absolutely have to be cornerstones that are kind of non-negotiable? What are the places that you allow the developers to be most productive by picking their own tools and their own experiences, right? And how do you think about introducing new tools, especially into the CI/CD pipeline that help automation? You don't want to be so rigid that nothing can be added. At the same time, you can quickly, that pipeline can become like 50 or 100 steps of lots of different tools and become a nightmare to manage. And you got to be thinking about all of that together. But just like I said, decorating your house, you have to ultimately make those decisions, right? You have to do that. And no one's going to do that for you. And you're going to have to live with the trade-offs. There will always be trade-offs.
Yep, there we go. Sorted, as they say in the UK. That makes sense. Well, do you have any bureaucracy this week, Brandon?
We do. We have a few things this week. First, I want to thank Kermit for writing in. I sent him some stickers. He's in Ohio. If you'd like some stickers, all you have to do is send your postal address to stickers@softwaredefinedtalk.com, and I'll be happy to send you a sticker anywhere in the world. Last week, I also asked for some Mac OS utilities, some cut and paste password managers. A couple of people recommended different things. Chris recommends Alfred, which is really like a whole command launcher. So it's got a lot of stuff in there, but it also has a password. I'm sorry, not a password manager. What am I saying here?
What do you call
a clipboard
it?
manager. That's what I was looking for. Thank you. A clipboard manager in there. So you can use that one. And Rookie recommends Mac tools like Shuffle, Flux, and Spectacle. And then Cote, you mentioned it last week. Some people asked about it. You're part of the subscription thing that you get, like all these utilities.
Yeah, it's called SetApp, SETAPP, and they have I don't know, they might have more, but they have one in there called Pasty, tragically named, but or not tragically, but just. It means a few more things than pasting things. So it's good. I use that all the time, every day, multiple times.
All right. Well, so hopefully one of those, to correct myself, one of those clipboard managers, if you're looking for one, those seem like all good recommendations. I'm still using the same one I'm using. Pastebot seems to work well, but we'll see. We'll see how much I stick to it. And then finally, incredibly, it sounds like we did make an error on last week's show. Probably the first one ever. I will now formally hand it over to Matt Ray to explain to us. Matt Ray, there is Diet Coke down under in Australia. Can you please explain what's going on with Diet Coke there?
On behalf of Software Defined Talk, I would like to apologize to the Coca-Cola Corporation for incorrectly reporting that they do not have Diet Coke here. They have Diet Coke in Australia. They have Coca-Cola No Sugar as well. They do not have Coke Zero. Coke Zero is the Coca-Cola No Sugar. Apparently, Diet Coke and is a slightly different flavor than sugar-free Coke, if you will. And so, if you want your Coke with no sugar, get the no sugar kind. And both of them have artificial sweetener number 951, which is chemically the same as NutraSweet, which I thought they didn't have here.
There you go.
Again, another mea culpa. I apologize. That stuff is gross. I don't drink it anyway. Stick with coffee.
Maybe
and
that's
tea.
That's where you shouldn't drink.
Oh
it
wait, sorry, Coca-Cola Corporation. They're with the sponsorship.
That's right. But it's there at least. The people that want it. It's not like you can't get it. So that's good to know. And then finally, in follow up, I'll just there was a really good a good Slack thread rather about some of our discussion last week. We talked a lot about the Kubernetes documentary. So there was some follow up. I think who is it? Joe. How do you say his last name there? One of the people in there posted a nice thread on Hacker News, I think. And then there was a nice thread in the SDT Slack talking about some of that. So if you're interested, you want to know more, that's a good reason to join the Slack, right? You can go in there and read it. I think Brian Gracely of the Cloudcast fame, he's got some thoughts in there. Cote's got some thoughts. I got some thoughts. So check that out if you're looking for something to read.
Yeah.
All available at softwaredefinedtalk.com/345. Or if you don't like numbers, you can just go to softwaredefinedtalk.com and click on the link that says Slack, and come join our Slack. Do we still have the? I mean, in this day and age, we still have to use the like no SSHJJ thing to
Yeah,
get
but it
you an
works great.
invite.
He's made it all automated for us. It's
Oh no! I think that work is great. I'm just saying we are still at the point.
yeah.
This is let me check. This is February 24th.
Anonymous registration still not a
2022.
factor.
Doesn't
Still not
work in
available in
Slack?
Slack. Yep.
It's actually something that Slack tried to they've tried to deprecate. So you can't add new Slack communities, can't sign that up.
Oh, wow.
So we're running on legacy fumes here.
So what are they just trying to like
Legacy
make?
meaning it's in production and works.
They're just trying to make Discord valuable. Like it just seems absurd.
I feel like we're about to start being
As long as
Discord a lot more.
no
Yeah.
SSHJJ is still around, we're still working, baby. He's got the keys to the castle.
Well, someone's got to go to Hawaii and tell Benioff this one feature they need to add that might expand their TAM or something. I don't know.
I'll see what I can do.
Oh, thank you. Yes. I mean, it's probably closer to you than us, right?
We should. Let's think
10
Slack. Though.
hours.
Slack a few weeks ago, they gave us another, I think it's just some random thing. Like we get a free month of the premium, and it's great because you can go back and see all the archives. Like you can go back and like, oh, so there's like this 1 month a year. You can fully go back and read everything that's ever happened in the software defined talk.
We call that
Slack.
Slacktoberfest.
Yeah, exactly. But unfortunately, and if anyone knows Slack, it's like we don't. I mean, to be honest, like we'll just own it. Like we're never gonna have the money to subscribe. So maybe
especially per user. That's
yeah,
what's
it's
wrong
like
with
we're
their
just
business
we
model.
can't do it. But we'll take our 1 month of free Slack and go back and read, or maybe just hook us up with a little extended free trial or something. That'd be
and
great.
we'll stop making fun of you.
Yeah.
We'll still talk about you all the time.
I'll save it for Coca-Cola.
Well, I mean, I'm pretty sure every corporation wants honest feedback, right? So that's what we can provide is honest feedback, not the dishonest feedback. Do you think dishonest feedback that's negative exists? I think dishonest feedback is only ever positive, right? If we reverse engineer from the implications of honest feedback. Anyway, something to ponder while you're waiting for attending a bunch of conferences that are coming up. We've got the .NET Beyond conference. It's going to be all online. That's March 30 to 31st. My coworker Layla is running this. As the name would imply, a bunch of .NET stuff going on there. There is that conference, which has been rescheduled over there in Round Rock in Texas, May 23rd and 26th. We have all sorts of discount codes if you want to get some dollars off registering for it. If you go to softwaredefinedtalk.com/345, you can find those. There's a Wisconsin one. We've got several DevOps days coming up. I think there are still some call for papers coming up for the Birmingham one and Chicago. There's a Splunk conference in June. And obviously, every year, there is the Spring One Platform Conference. This is going to be December 6th to 8th. I think December 6th is my mother's birthday. And my boss, Tasha, she is actually going out next week, I think, to do a little like walking around, check out what the conference layout is going to be. I think we're going to be in the Moscone West, which is the tall one, if I recall. So she's going to figure out what's going on over there. You should come attend that conference. Conferences, they will be enjoyable. I'll be at the Austin one in May. I'm looking forward to some warm weather. Now, Brandon, by the way, is it freezing there? What's the weather like right now?
Right now, it's just below freezing. It's about 30, I think it's like 30, 31 degrees. And of course, though, for those that follow the Slack, in Texas 2 days ago, this, again, all temperatures in Fahrenheit, the only true temperature system. On Tuesday afternoon here in Austin, it was 88 degrees Fahrenheit. And then 2 days later, or the day later, about 12 hours later, it was 35 degrees Fahrenheit. So now this will probably be the last really cold day, or I don't know, maybe a cold week in Austin. Then we'll just be on to our scorching heat, which is fine, which would be great.
Well, I think both Austin and Amsterdam are off their meds today, because earlier today it was like blue skies and very nice, and then when I was walking home from the grocery store, it was hailing. So I don't know what's up with that, but figure it out, Austin and Amsterdam. Pick a weather. So with that, Brandon, what's your recommendation this week?
My recommendation this week is another Apple TV series that I just started. It's called Severance. So it's only 2 episodes in, but I really enjoyed the first 2 episodes. So I think it works well as a standalone psychological thriller. I think it's better to maybe go in just watching it. I'll just say it's like, if you want to look, kind of understand the premise more, maybe just watch the preview. I won't ruin it here, but I think as a thriller kind of mystery, it works there. But I also think it has very interesting, subtle work commentary about your work life and your home life and kind of like work-life balance. I think I don't know, something's happening in it that's sort of very interesting to me. So I'm excited to see where the series goes. So 2 episodes are up now. By the time you hear this, they'll probably have 4 out. So if you're looking for something to watch and you're already part of the defaults lifestyle anyway, you're already paying for Apple TV Plus because you needed that extra Apple storage, check out Severance. It's good.
How about yourself, Matt Ray?
Well, I'm on the tick to the Apple TV talk. I canceled my Apple TV and have my seasonal HBO Max subscription, so I'm catching up on HBO shows. I'm enjoying, or I just finished last night a series that came out I think last year called The Flight Attendant. Brandon probably recommended this at some point. I didn't know anything about it, so that's the best way to go into it. Is I thought it was a comedy. So
Whoa,
it's not.
Different. Not a comedy. Yeah.
Not a comedy. Go and enjoy it. It was one of those thriller kind of. I don't want to spoil it too much, but it was actually really good, and I enjoyed it. And that's all I'm going to say. If you got HBO, it's worth watching.
All right. Well, I have a couple of recommendations. A lot of good things have been happening this week. One is so I started, I'm always looking for something new to watch with my almost 2-year-old daughter on TV because she can watch Encanto, Coco, and Frozen all day long, and I cannot. Right? Like, I mean, that's all good stuff. I enjoy it, but I'm always exploring more. And I tried to watch the Clone Wars, Star Wars thing, but they got lasers and they're killing people, and like it is a little like, I don't know, Obi-Wan Kenobi in like stormtrooper armor. I'm not feeling it, right? Like no. Whatever. But I went back to Netflix finally, and they have this Hilda TV show. Now we watched a Hilda movie, which was good, but the TV show is pretty good. So that's a good thing. I don't know, kid-wise, Hilda, look that up. Now, my second recommendation is my wife, Kim, was telling me she listens to the Murder Podcast, and she played me an episode of I think it's called the All Killa No Filla Podcast, which is, about murders. But it's episode number 69, and they begin with this whole off-murder topic tangent about their opinion about tomatoes. And they're British, so of course they say tomatoes. And there is about a 10-minute sort of like debate between the two co-hosts about the value of tomatoes versus not. And I think everyone should go listen to it. Just it's a very, very funny. Now my third recommendation, we've got a grocery store here. It's not an Albert Heijn, or however one would say that if they weren't speaking Angles or whatever. And it's also not a Jumbo, but it's called the grocery store chain we have here is called Plus, or Plus, I guess you would say. And tonight I picked up the pre-cooked Indonesian spare ribs, and they were delicious. So I recommend those as well. Get those. And now, while you're eating your pre-cooked, heat it up in the oven at I don't know, let's say 175 centigrade. I don't know what that is in Fahrenheit. It's probably 350 because everything cooks at 350 Fahrenheit or 300. But it's, while you're eating those, what you should do is go to softwaredefinedtalk.com and go back and relive all the past episodes that we have. Because that's what you've been listening to right now. And if you want to get those show notes, if you want to find the link to that podcast that I recommended, the show that Brandon did, or whatever it is that Matt recommended, I'm not really sure. I've got to click on that. You can go to softwaredefinedtalk.com/345 and get all of those links and other things. And with that, we'll see everyone next time. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
All right. Well done, as always. We had one other recommendation here for the streamers. Jack Reacher. Brian says that's good on Amazon. I saw that. It's pretty good. It was fun. I think if you read the Jack Reacher books, which I have not. I guess maybe I listened to one. But anyway, people say that the new character, the non-Tom Cruise, the Amazon Jack Reacher, is much, much better.
Yes.
So he's huge. That's the one thing you'll notice.
This movie does look good, Matt, right?
He's a large thing.
It is good.
Yeah. We don't have HBO Max here yet, but once we do, there'll be, 15 more euros.
Well, last night we started Hacks. So that's the next HBO series.
Coach, I want you to watch Severance. I don't know if you have Apple TV Plus. I want you to get. I want an episode from you. I was thinking of you while I was watching it. I was like, this. I want to see if Cote's philosophy. Like, I feel like it has like. I like your philosophy.
That's the one where there's a procedure that can make you forget things or something, right? Like forget your job.
Yep, that's exactly right. So just watch it. Go watch an episode. Get 47 minutes. I think is the first one. I want your philosophy brain working on it, and that's what I want. Right.
Sounds good.
So.
Tomatoes.
All right. Thanks to everyone. Hey, we had a lot of new people this time on Twitch. So I think we were talking bad about Twitch at the beginning. So I wasn't talking bad. Cote was talking bad about Twitch. I love Twitch.
Just for B2B marketing. That's
just for B2B market. That's right. So I appreciate everybody coming to hang out. It's fun. It's definitely fun, and it was good to see a lively chat there. So to all the streamers, thank you very much, and we'll probably see you next week around this time.
Let's go get some kids.